Have you ever felt that desire to build something lasting, something that, really makes a difference?
It's a deep human impulse, isn't it? That need to contribute to something bigger.
Exactly. So today on the deep dive, we're going to explore a really powerful story about that very thing: leadership, legacy, and incredible generosity.
We're jumping into the Bible, specifically the final chapter of First Chronicles. It's a fascinating look at King David right near the end of his life.
Right. And our mission here, our goal for this deep dive, is to really get inside David's head a bit, understand his actions, his message about giving, about faith.
And figure out why this ancient story still feels so relevant, why it speaks to us today.
Okay, so where does it start?
Okay.
David gathers the people, right?
Yes, he addresses the whole assembly. He lays out this enormous task ahead, building the temple for God.
And he mentions his son Solomon, who's going to oversee it, is still young, which kind of highlights the scale of it all.
It does. And David immediately sets the purpose. He says, look, this isn't just any building project. It's not for man, but for the Lord God.
That framing is crucial, isn't it? It puts everything in perspective right from the start.
Absolutely. Then David reveals what he's personally done already. And it's pretty staggering.
Yeah, talk about leading from the front. He lists his own massive contributions.
Uh-huh. Gold for the gold items, silver for the silver, bronze, iron, wood. It goes on. And then these incredible stones, onyx, colorful stones, all sorts of valuable gems, and marble, just tons of it.
It paints such a vivid picture. This isn't just basic materials, it's the best stuff. He even specifies gold of Ophir.
Which was known to be exceptionally fine gold, and he mentions its purpose overlaying the walls. You get this sense of incredible quality and beauty.
So what's driving him to give so much personally, even before asking others?
He tells us directly. He says he is delighted in the house of my God, and because of this affection, he's giving this treasure in addition to everything else he'd already set aside for the temple.
So it's coming from the heart, real devotion, not just obligation.
Exactly. It's deeply personal.
Yeah.
And then, after laying out his own commitment,
Then he asks the question.
yes, he turns to everyone and says, who then is willing to consecrate his service this day unto the Lord?
It's an invitation, not really a command, based on his example.
And the response is immediate and overwhelming.
The leaders step up first.
Yeah, the chiefs of the fathers' houses, the princes of the tribes, the captains, the rulers over the king's work, they all offered willingly. The text makes a point of saying their hearts were in it.
And the amounts are just huge. Thousands of talents of gold and silver.
Right, thousands upon thousands, plus vast amounts of brass and iron, and even down to specific counts, like 10,000 drams of gold. People also brought precious stones they owned
Where did those stones go?
into the treasury of the house of the Lord, managed by Jehiel the Gershonite. It was a real collective effort.
And what was the mood? Was it like paying taxes or something else?
Oh, completely different. The text says the people rejoiced because with perfect heart they offered willingly to the Lord. And it adds, David the king also rejoiced with great joy.
So this willing giving created widespread joy. That's powerful.
Incredibly powerful, which leads right into David's response. He doesn't just say thanks, he prays.
A public prayer right in front of everyone.
Yes, and it's this beautiful expression of praise and humility. He starts by just acknowledging God's total greatness, the power, glory, victory, majesty.
Saying everything in heaven and earth belongs to God.
Precisely. He recognizes God's sovereignty, and then he says something really telling about their contributions.
What's that?
He points out that both riches and honor come of thee. He connects their ability to give directly back to God's provision.
Ah, so it's not about their generosity ultimately.
Oh, yes and no. Their willingness is praised, but David frames it with this profound humility. But who am I, and what is my people, that we should be able to offer so willingly?
Wow.
For all things come of thee, and of thine own have we given thee. He sees it all as returning God's gifts back to him.
That really shifts the perspective on giving, doesn't it?
Completely. He even reflects on how temporary life is. We are strangers, sojourners. Our days on the earth are as a shadow. It grounds their immense wealth and effort in an internal context.
He keeps bringing it back to God being the source and owner of everything.
He does. He says, O Lord our God, all this store that we have prepared cometh of thine hand and is all thine own. He also speaks about God testing the heart and delighting in uprightness.
And he's clearly happy about the people's response.
Oh, absolutely. He rejoices seeing their willing hearts. And then he prays for that spirit to continue. He asks God to keep this desire in their hearts and, crucially, to prepare their hearts for God.
He's thinking about the future, about maintaining this commitment.
Yes, and specifically for Solomon, too. He prays for Solomon to have a perfect heart, to follow God's commands and, actually build the temple.
It's a prayer for continuity for the next generation.
Definitely. After the prayer, the whole congregation joins in blessing and worshiping God, and they honor the king, too.
And the celebration continues.
Oh, yes. The next day involves massive sacrifices, thousands of bulls, rams, lambs, and more, feasting and rejoicing.
And that's when Solomon officially takes over.
Well, he's anointed king again, alongside Zadok as priest. It solidifies the transition. The chapter then wraps up, noting Solomon sat on the throne, prospered with God's help, and all Israel obeyed him.
And it closes with a summary of David's long reign and peaceful death.
Right. Full of days, riches, and honor, and Solomon reigning in his place. A complete handover.
Okay, so that's the story. Let's talk about bringing it forward. How does this speak to us today? How can it strengthen our faith?
Well, start with that joyful giving. David and the people weren't giving reluctantly. They rejoiced in it. That's a powerful model for us, isn't it?
It suggests that when we give back our time, our skills, our resources with that same willing spirit, it's not just a duty. It actually deepens our own connection to God and our community. It builds faith.
And think about David's leadership. He didn't just command, give. He gave extravagantly first. That's leadership by example.
Right. So in our families, our workplaces, wherever we have influence, maybe the most effective way to encourage generosity or commitment is to model it ourselves. That inspires faith in others, too.
Definitely. Then there's the humility aspect. David, this incredibly successful king, constantly points away from himself towards God.
Who am I? All things come from you. That's hard to do when you've achieved a lot.
It is, but it's vital for faith, isn't it? Staying grounded, remembering where success, blessings, even the ability to give truly comes from. It keeps things in perspective.
Which ties into gratitude, I suppose. David's prayer is just overflowing with thanks.
Exactly. Cultivating that sense of gratitude, intentionally recognizing God's provision in our lives, big and small, that fosters contentment. It combats envy and strengthens our trust that he will provide. It builds resilience in faith.
And David's focus on Solomon, preparing him, praying for him.
That speaks volumes about legacy, doesn't it? Investing in the next generation, whether it's parenting, mentoring, teaching, empowering others.
It's an act of faith itself. Trusting God's work will continue beyond us.
It really is. And maybe the most fundamental point for strengthening faith today is that core message. It all comes from God. Everything belongs to him.
Remembering our dependence on him, his sovereignty, it can be incredibly grounding.
It takes the pressure off us in a way, but also calls us to be faithful stewards. And seeing the whole community respond willingly, that shared commitment, demonstrates a collective faith that's still inspiring.
So summing up this deep dive, key takeaways seem to be the joy in generous giving, the power of leading by example.
The crucial role of humility and gratitude, and the value placed on preparing for the future, investing in others.
It all loops back to recognizing God as the ultimate source and owner.
Which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on.
Yeah, how am I really embracing this spirit, this joyful generosity, this deep acknowledgement that everything is ultimately God's system? How might that actually change your day-to-day life?
What could shift in your perspective, in your actions, if you looked at your own contributions, time, money, effort, and really examined the heart behind them, asking, like David, of your own have I given you? How might that strengthen your faith journey?